Will this be the game where we finally see France turn into performance in this year's Six Nations? My name is Mark, let's talk rugby. The two non-English speaking nations in the Six Nations go head to head this weekend, and in recent years this has actually been a pretty good game, and I'm hoping that on Sunday as well there'd be a nice kind of Sunday afternoon treat home from work and watch this one, probably a delayed one because I'm going to be like an hour after it starts, but I think it's going to be a good game. So this is France versus Italy. It's on Sunday the 25th of February 2024. Kickoff is 3 p.m. BST. It's in the Stade Pierre Mauroy in Lille. Last year it was Italy 24, France 29. As I said, been a decent contest in the last few years between these two. So we are going to have a look at the two teams. So first of all, we just run down through them quickly, starting with the French team. So front row is Cyril Bay, Beato Mauvaka and Uni Antonio. Then the second row is Cameron Woki and Posolo Tuilagi. The back row then is Paul Bodenhen, Charles Olivon and Francois Cross. Halfbacks Maxime Lucu and Mathieu Jalabert. Left wing Louis Biel-Biarri. Centres Jonathan Dante and Gail Fuku. Right wing Damien Pinot, and fullback is Tomo Ramos. On the bench then we have Julian Marchand, Sebastian Taufi Fanua, Dorian Aldaheri, Romain Tofi Fanua, Alexander Roma, Esteban Abadi, Nolan Lagerrick and Yoram Mofana. Okay, so that's the French team. Then on to the Italian team. So front row, Danilo Fischetti, Giacomo Nicotera and Giosui Zolocci. Second row is Nicola Canone and Federico Ruzza. Back row, Riccardo Favretto, Michel Lamro and Ross Vincent. Halfbacks, Martin Page Rello and Paolo Garbisi. Left wing, Monte Ioani. Centres, Federico Mori and Juan Ignacio Brex. Right wing, Tommaso Menoncello, and fullback is Ange Capuozzo. On the bench then we have Gianmarco Lucchesi, Mirko Spagnolo, Simone Ferrari, Matteo Canali, Andre Zambonin, Manuel Zuliani, Stephen Barney and Leonardo Marin. Okay, so those are the two teams. We're going to have a closer look at the French team. So front row, Cyril Bay, we all know all about him. Big threat at the breakdown. Hasn't had the best of tournaments. We say that pretty much about almost the entire French team, honestly. They haven't actually performed, but they still have one win, which kind of, is a testament, I think, to the quality and the fact that, Scotland didn't kill them off in that second game. But, Cyril Bay, he's going to hit form at some stage during this. And I think, in this one, we could see him turning over a good amount of ball. And then we have Mauvaka there at hooker. I'm wondering, because, I suppose against Italy, teams will make changes, and I'm wondering if it's just giving them a start here in this one. And the same with Antonio as well, because he's kind of been in and out of the starting tight head as well. But it's a really good front row. But certainly you would think that Marchand would be the starting hooker, but and then between Aldaheri and Antonio, I think is very close between the two anyway. But expecting this front row to go well in this game. Then the second row, so we've got Cameron Woki in there, and then Posolo Tuilagi is starting in that second row as well. So Woki, obviously the more athletic of the two. Tuilagi, just a huge physical specimen there, very imposing. And France just showing that their depth at the lock position as well, that when you think of the players that are missing for them, to have two quality players like that, and to have a young guy like Tuilagi coming into the team and kind of just slotting in as well, is good for them. Back row as well is much changed than what we're used to seeing. You got Bodahin there, Olivon is the captain for this one, and Kroos. So no Aldrit, I think, is the big one for that back row, and I'm wondering how these guys are going to go, albeit against not that, I would say, not the first choice back row for Italy either. And then you got Maxime Lucu again starting at 9, so it seems like that he is the guy that is potentially going to start all of the games through the Six Nations. I thought they would maybe swap between himself and Lagaric for starts, but looks like he's the man in possession. And then you got Machi Jalabert as well. So they're a decent combination at 9 and 10. But the pack haven't really fired so far in the tournament, and that means that these guys have been kind of living off scraps a little bit. And if they get any kind of quality ball, I think we're going to see both of them shining for France. Talk about some of these shines for France. BL Biauri on the left wing, even on scraps, like the guy has looked really good in this tournament. So if they do get better ball, and I expect that they will against Italy, I think both teams will have a go. That I'm going to see something special from him. Centres then, Dante and Fiku. On paper and in the past, they've been fantastic centre combination. You got Dante there, who is the huge threat at the breakdown. He can straighten the line, and carry hard into contact. You got Fiku, who is a bit of a defensive kingpin, but also can turn it on and make that outside break as well, from midfield too. So almost like a dream partnership in midfield. But again, just because they've been kind of denied a lot of quality ball, we haven't really seen them shining in the tournament. Damien Penaud, the guy he almost just has to turn up to a rugby game and he's going to score a try. So don't be surprised again if he scores. And then Tomo Ramos, the kicker from the tee, but also really solid at the back there, and come into the line and give other options as well, coming in there as a second distributor, etc. So it's a really strong team that they picked. And then if we look at the bench as well, it doesn't kind of go down in quality on the bench either. Julien Marchand, again, arguably could be the starting hooker. Sebastian Taofi-Fanua, I think Bai is definitely the starter, but quality coming off the bench there. Then Aldaheri, again, himself and Antonio, you could swap either of those around at the moment. I think neither of them dominant, but both top quality and both having great impact. Romain Taofi-Fanua there for the second row as well. So again, you're just looking at more quality in the lock stocks, with so many top quality locks missing for them. It's just amazing. Then we got Roma there, and when we get into Roma and Abadi, the two of them are kind of guys who are coming into this game looking at as a chance for them really to show what they can do at this level. So with a 6-2 split there, there's a decent chance, I think, for good impact off the bench for the pack. If you were changing 6 out of 8 of your pack, you would expect France will finish strong. Then you got Lagaric, who ups the pace when he comes on to the pitch and really does give them a bump, and maybe that's why he's staying on the bench, because of that ability to kind of up the tempo in that last quarter of the game when they want to finish strong. You got Mo Fana there as well, who he started the first game against Ireland, but it's hard to see. I can see why he's on the bench, but it's hard to see him honestly breaking back into the starting team when you're thinking that, well, if he's going to play, it's either going to be on the wing or in the centres. And with BL Berry and Penaud, that looks like the wing places are tied up. And then Dante and Fiku in the centres as well. It's going to be hard to bump either of those. So, but again, he can offer something from the bench. So that is a close look at the French team. Now let's have a close look at the Italian team. So we got Fischetti there at loose head. The guy really is showing his quality, I think, over the last 2 seasons that he's been in this competition, and really kind of just standing out as like a guy with huge potential as well. I think he's one of those ones that if he was in other nations as well, he'd be pushing to be the starting loose head too. So it's not just a case of being Italy's best loose head. I think he's one of the best in Europe. Then we have Nicotera there at hooker. So the hooker position, I think, with himself and Lucchese on the bench there, you got quality one way or the other, whoever starts. And I think it's just a case of, they need to get their set piece right. And that's kind of a lot for the hookers, I think, in this Six Nations, is especially the line out, getting the line out right. And it really does kind of feed into the rest of their game, because we've seen the line out becoming more and more important, because that's one of the platforms that teams really do attack from, whether it's, a rolling maul, or whether it's kind of off the top or some kind of trick play or whatever. It's I think it's taken on a greater importance certainly in recent years. And then we got Zalocci there getting a chance at tight head. I think tight head is definitely, for that Italian front row, is a spot that's up for grabs. And if he performs against the likes of Bai, I think then and then it's Taufi Fanua, right, coming on, or is it? Yeah, it's Taufi Fanua, I think. I'm second guessing myself, because I just looked at it there a second ago. Yeah, it is Sebastian Taufi Fanua. Yeah. So against either of those, because obviously that's who he's going to be facing in the scrums. He could kind of take that shirt as his own. This second row pairing seems to be certainly in the pack the most settled row of the Italian pack. Nicola Canone and Federico Ruzza. So good to see those two together in there again, and they're kind of a bit of an anchor almost for this pack at the minute. Back row though is much changed. You got Favretto and Vincent in there, both kind of not kind of breaking into the team at the moment. So this is a chance for them. And then you got Michel Lamoureux, amazing player, and I'd just like to see him in a more settled team though. Rather than having to kind of guide these new guys in all the time. Let's have a more settled team. But you have to as well. New coach coming in, and maybe some injuries too. You're going to see some rotation. Talking about rotation, 9 now. We've got am I right in saying this is the third 9 in starting in 3 games? So it was Alessandro Garbisi in the first game against England. Then last time out against Ireland, wasn't it Stephen Varney? And then so on Sunday then it's Martin Page Rello. So I'm pretty sure I'm right about that it's 3 starting 9s in 3 games, which again, if the coach is just giving everybody a go, then brilliant. Go through your squad and give those players a chance to show you what they can do. It's a good way, I think, to kind of test everyone at the kind of same level. But also, you got to get to a point where you have decided who you're kind of starting and backup 9 are. Maybe you won't get there until maybe the autumn internationals this year though. But Paolo Garbisi seems to be the starting 10 at this stage. It looked like it was maybe between him and Tommaso Allen, but it looks like he's in there. I think he's been the starting 10 all tournaments so far now. So at least that's one thing settled. Another thing settled as well as left wing, if he's available and fit, belongs to Monte Ioani. he just gives them something extra that none of their other wingers give them. He has that ability to just finish under pressure, and I don't think any of the other certainly of the wings or even Capozzo fullback have that. Capozzo has all his dancing feet, etc., but Ioane, it's very unlikely if he's going over the try line, there's contact, that he's going to get held up or the ball's going to get dislodged, etc., because he seems very solid at that area of his game. Centre pairing then, Breck seems to be the ever present there, but his partner changing a bit. So we saw him with Menoncello previously, and then did he have somebody else as a partner as well? I'm trying to think. He might have done, but now he's partnering Mori there in the centres. So that's something where definitely have to get kind of a settled position there. But talk about unsettled, that right wing position is changing every game as well. So they gave Pani a try there. Didn't have was Capozzo there in one of the games, and then they had, or was Capozzo due to start, and then maybe he was missing and they had Allen a fullback, I think. But Menoncello now is the guy who's gotten the chance to go in there and see what he can do. So it certainly looks like this search for a right winger for Italy continues. And then Ange Capozzo, if the guy is fit, he's playing. It's just whether you want to play him on the wing or fullback. I think he's better at fullback. He might get he's definitely going to get, I think, more of the ball just because the ball's going to be kicked to him a lot more, and then he has more chance to run in open space, which is what Italy want to see and what all of us neutrals want to see as well. Bench then, you got Lucchesi again. He could be the starter instead of Nicotera. I don't think anybody would complain about it too much. But then Mirko Spagnolo and Simone Ferrari, certainly he would be he'd be one that would be thinking that he potentially should be a starter, I think, in the team as well. But with himself and Zalocchi, I think if you have competition there, it's only going to be good for Italy in the long run. Then we got Matteo Canali covering the second row. So we've seen the cover position for the second row changing a lot as well. A lot of players coming in and out and kind of getting a few minutes towards the end of the game. So it looks like he's cycling through his cover, but has decided pretty much what his first choice second row is going to be. Then Zambonin and Zuliani, again a 6-2 split for Italy, and Zuliani has been a starter in this tournament already this season, and so he's gonna want to again come on and impress, because it looks like they're cycling through a lot of back row options, and you don't want to be the guy that kind of gets shuffled out of the pack, as it were. And I think for both of these guys, it's important to impress off the bench. Stephen Barney then, he was a starting 9. He's now a backup 9, at least for this game. Don't be surprised though if we see him back, at least starting in one of the last 2 rounds of the competition. And then Leonardo Marin there with a chance to come on at 23. Hopefully he does get some minutes. Sometimes you see guys come onto the bench, especially in the 23 slot, and not actually see any minutes at all in the game. I hope that he gets on in a planned way, not because somebody gets injured though. So those are the 2 teams. We're now going to have a look at some of the stats from the tournament so far from both of these teams. So try scored 4 for France, 3 for Italy. So neither of them kind of setting the terms alight in terms of their try scoring ability, but I think when they face each other, it might be a little bit different. I could actually potentially see both these teams picking up a bonus point out of this game. Lineout takes then 21 for France, 18 for Italy. So France a little bit on the up, but not too much compared to these two. Neither of them kind of at the top of the tables. And then Lineout steals are both at the bottom with only 1 each. there. So, if either of them can be kind of a little bit more competitive on the opposition's throw and maybe get a couple of steals, that can go a long way, especially if it's, one where maybe you're relieving pressure, from like a 5 meter line out and get a steal there. That'd be huge for the team that is defending. Kicks and play then, 61 for France, not as much as we're used to seeing them kick, and Italy right at the bottom with 47. Italy, interestingly, they're kind of kicking a little bit more, not too much more, like, it's early days as well, but a little bit more than did last year. But I think the difference is that the way they're kicking has changed. They're kicking a lot more exits out of their 22 than they were last year, but then they're reducing the number of tactical kicks they put in kind of from open play. So, they swapped one bit of kicking for another rather than increasing their overall kicking. And, I wonder if, whether it's a strategy or it's like they're kind of developing their kicking game, because I know that Benetton, where a lot of these players play, do have a very kind of established kicking game there. They certainly kick more than the national team, and it'll be interesting to see as the tournament goes on and in this game whether they're going to start kicking a little bit more for territory and stuff like that. But certainly it's a positive move that they're kicking to exit their 22 rather than last year where they were just throwing the ball around all the time. If you did that against a team like France, they're just so quick on turnovers, you're going to concede tries. Line breaks then, again, both near the bottom, like 8 for France and 7 for Italy. 7 the least, I think, in the tournament, or is certainly towards the bottom 2 there. And again, looking to see that improve in this game. And then meters gained as well. France with just 644.8 and Italy with the least of the tournament so far, 575.5. So I think we're going to see both teams breaking the line and getting over the gain line for much more meters in this game as well. Total passes then, both again towards the end, 229 for France, 239 for Italy. The two least teams passing the least in the tournament so far. And then points for 22 entry, 5.66 for France, is second in the tournament. And we think that they haven't played that well. It's kind of a bit scary, that per 22 entry, they're coming away with basically a try every time they get in there. And again, with stats like this, you have to take into account the fact that this stat, although it says per 22 entry, it's actually totaling up all of their points. So it means any drop goals or penalties, kick from outside of the 22, still count towards this figure. And that's why we see the likes of Ireland having a points tally per 22 entry of more than 7. But Italy with just 3.5. So it means that, even though, again, we have to take it with a grain of salt, Italy still have to do better when they get into the opposition 22. We have to see them being more ruthless, and we've seen them, a lot of kind of errors in the first 2 rounds. They got to clean that up, but you can see the ambition is there, and it is just about kind of things clicking for them and settling into that to their new attacking style. And I think that's going to come in time. Whether it's going to come in this game or not, I'm not too sure. Then average ruck speed, France second fastest in the tournament with an average speed of 3.11 seconds, and Italy about the middle of the pack with 3.58 seconds. So even though it's less than half a second between them, remember it's on average spread over all of the rucks throughout the entire game. So if France can maintain that, there are going to be times, more times for them where they get the ball out and Italy's defense is not quite set, and you don't want to be kind of scrambling against a French team on attack, because once they get in behind you, it's so hard to prevent them from scoring. We saw it in last year's tournament against Ireland in Dublin, where they scored or won the try just because they got in behind Ireland. And even though Ireland have easily the best scramble defence in the entire Six Nations, we still couldn't scramble our way out of that one because France are just so deadly. And it's mainly because well, there's a lot of things at play. It's like skill of the players, obviously pace as well, but also the fact that players are switched on to all the time. Not just the guy who gets the ball, but the players coming in support. And generally, France will have more players and in better positions in support for the ball carrier once they get in behind than most of the other nations. And that's what Italy have to guard against. But also, Italy, they've got to play in the right areas of the field. And they've got to take their points when they get them as well, because we know that when France get the chance, more often than not, they are going to take them. So that's kind of look at the stats and at the teams. How do I think the game is going to go overall? Well, France haven't performed. They, like I talked about, like France versus Scotland versus France, should say. Like Scotland have had probably 1.5 decent halves of rugby so far in the tournament, and that would be like the first half against Wales, and then most of the first half against France, but then kind of fell away towards the end of that. Whereas France have had like 4 poor halves by their standards, but still they're on the same amount of wins as Scotland in the tournament. And you can talk about TMO, referee, whatever, but France still got themselves in that position to win that game. And that's kind of ominous for teams like Italy and the other teams that have to play in the rest of the tournament, because when they do click, it's going to be so much harder for opposition. So if France click against Italy, Italy have done well so far. Obviously, getting nilled against Ireland, not ideal, but they gave England a game now. So in this one, obviously, they don't want to get nilled again. I'm not sure. Like, it must have happened before, but I'm kind of struggling to remember a time when a team was nilled 2 games in a row in the Six Nations. But if it hasn't happened before, Italy certainly don't want to be the first for it to happen to. So I can see them maybe getting some points on the board, but still France probably coming through and winning it certainly comfortably. I don't think it's going to be a hammering, but at test level, I think somewhere between kind of 2 and 3 scores, so like 14 to 20 odd points, I think would be a fair margin between the two teams at the minute, looking at kind of the quality of the personnel available and where they are in the development, and taking into account that France can't be as terrible as they were in the first 2 rounds for the entire tournament. So yeah, I think I'm going to go for a France win in this one, but I certainly want to see a better performance from Italy, especially on attack, and I'm hoping that both teams pick up the try bonus point in this one as well, because then it'll be an exciting Sunday afternoon's watch and a good end to the weekend's rugby as well. But that is the end of this one. So tomorrow we will have the obviously the reviews of the Saturday games, and I think I probably have to do them backwards, because I'm working during the Ireland-Wales game, so I won't get to see that until after the Scotland-England game. So it makes sense to watch the Scotland-England game, do the review of that, have that edited and rendering, because it takes like an hour and a bit, sometimes an hour and a half for it to render. And while that's doing that, then I can watch a replay, hopefully find it somewhere at least, of Ireland and Wales, and then do the review of that. And so that's kind of the plan for that. And then on Sunday, obviously, we will do a review of France versus Italy too. So yeah, it's an exciting another exciting weekend of rugby. I know everybody's just kind of thinking, well, a lot of people are thinking, oh well, Ireland are just going to do back-to-back Grand Slams, but there's a reason why it's never been done before. And I know it's a special Ireland team, etc., and blah blah blah, but I'm still I can't help it. I'm an old school Ireland fan. I think I get nervous every weekend that we play, and it's the same as well with France versus Italy, like that. I always want to see Italy doing well, because I really don't like this whole narrative of, oh, let's replace Italy with Georgia or with South Africa or with whoever. whoever's the flavour of the week, that it just goes against the way I feel about things. That I want to see Italy in there. They're improving, and like at under 20 level, like if Italy were getting the kind of performances and results that they are under 20 level now to senior level, there would be like all talk of them getting kicked out would be just stone dead at this stage. But that's not that far away from those players coming into the senior setup. So Italy, they're on the crest, I think, on the cusp of something, I think, special. And maybe, it's going to be Caseta, the new coach, who brings them to that level. But, for this one, all I want to see is just a decent performance, and if they can give that, I think that's kind of sets them up for the last 2 rounds then of the tournament, where I think they will be looking to get at least one win out of that.